Recording has started. Avoid legal stags by telling people that they're being recorded. All right, I just did that. All right, all right, so Ohio, you ready for us to go?
Yes, sir. It's just Catherine and I today, I believe.
Okay. Now, do you have an email from Bill at all on the um,
I'm in now. Thank you.
the
Yeah,
13th update?
thanks. It worked.
Mohammed, you're not muted. You realize?
Ah,
Hello. I don't know what that noise is. Does anybody know what that noise is? Am I the only one hearing that noise?
No,
Now
I
I
hear
hear
it.
it's a beeping.
All right. Let's see.
What is
Who's
that?
beeping? I'm
That's
gonna
like a, hey, you're being recorded beep kind of thing. We've never had that before.
pause recording, stop recording. Is there an option on that? Link meeting options, manage recordings. No, nothing there.
Yeah, but you've stopped it now, right? And it's still beeping.
No, he didn't stop it.
Zoom recording. Let me see. I'll mute me.
What if you just stop the recording?
The guest left, and then it stopped beeping when that K12 Enterprise guest left.
yeah, that was me connected through my phone line, so I think that was the beep coming from.
Did we lose Andrew?
No, he was
no,
muted.
I'm just talking with my mute on. Story of my life. All righty. All right.
And you know nobody cared. That's the sad part.
It's the usual state of my life. Anyway.
Yep.
So it's like at home. I just talk. Anyway. All right, let's go. Now I'm gonna go at a pretty good pace because I got a ridiculously thick list of stuff here. So I'm gonna go at a good pace. And anybody that wants to slow down and get into more details about this stuff, please do. Now, some of the things I'm going to have to call on some of the people on this call to add some more meat to the discussion because I just don't know some of this stuff myself. But anyway, I guess I was asking Heidi. Heidi, do you have the email that goes through the 13th work orders in order?
Yeah. Yes, sir. I appreciate that. Yes, some of you
Okay.
did send those to me. I've got them all printed out in front of me. So.
Okay, good. Yeah. So we'll start right at the top, which is at the lowest work order, and kind of work our way. I have circled ones in which there was additional attachments, so I can pop up that email, and we can maybe even look at that together and talk about some of those things too. The actual first one, though, I'm not sure. This K12 EMAP entries, XML functions, configure time and leave system integration features, 237. I'm not sure really, whether we should get into that a lot. That's still being worked on quite a bit. I'm not sure if it's completely ready for prime time. It's still work that Kevin and Debbie have been working on quite a bit. Bill, do you feel like we should just skip that one for now, the 237?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm thinking it's still
so much work in process still.
right. Once it's done, we'll do some training on that specifically. But we're still working on that even in the 14th release, is my knowledge, right? I mean, I've seen emails going back and forth, so I'm assuming that's the case. Time leave journal, show the standard hours from the employee's job. So I've noticed that showing up, and it's right in the screen, in the main time screen. I think it's something that maybe Kevin did or Muhammad did. I'm not really sure, but it says hours per day. It's this field right here, correct? So if I just do my, I guess it's board delivery. And so if you had a value on the employee job, it would be showing up right there. So that's just to tell the operator, I guess, what the standard hours that they should be working for a day is. I'm not sure who requested that, where that came from, but I can't see it hurting. Obviously, if you want to move it to the right, you can. This is where we stuck it on the page. It can be moved or removed if not needed. But it's a field that you can't edit because it's just coming from the value and the hours per day on the job. I don't know, guys. Does anybody know? Did Mohammed? Did you do this piece of code, or was it Kevin? He's not on the phone, I don't think.
I think it was Kevin.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. I was going to ask him: is it actually real data, or is it actually fake? Okay.
Can you not hide that?
Yeah, I can hide it. Sure. I'm sure I can hide it. I don't know why I can't hide it. Hours per day, remove.
It seems like it should be not visible by default. But
Yeah, no, I agree. And if you want to take notes, Melissa, because I can't really take notes in this particular forum, please do. Yeah, I would think that, but I'm not sure why we added it, where it was coming from.
I'm sure it was a North Carolina request, and because they're using that, they use that for their hourly employees, and they use it as an edit to edit against actual hours worked.
Okay. Was it added to the test report? Do you know?
I don't know.
Okay. All right. So we'll look into that, but again, I don't see any harm. I see Melissa's point. Maybe it would default to not shown, but other than that, that's what it is. Bank reconciliations needs to give running clear deposit total. That was something that it did take a while to first figure out what it was doing, but in the bank recon, we were noticing after a certain point that and maybe it was possibly reported from Ohio, I can't remember, but the checks were showing a total, and then we were making changes and so forth. This wasn't really changing properly, and so we found the problem. It was an inconsistency in the way this page was written. It was actually from really native nav, really from the very, very beginning, from really North American regionalization team, and Microsoft had a bug, and so we fixed that. And so I think that finally took a while, but we figured out what the heck was going on and got that licked. So there was some inconsistencies there. Go ahead.
This is Catherine from Meta.
Go ahead.
When has this been put into the production?
I don't know where 13 is. Is it in production in Ohio, guys? Anybody know that, Susan?
Not yet. We were waiting on Dan to come back from vacation.
Okay, because I had done a bank reconciliation the other day and it was not showing that, so I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
So,
It's part of 13. So when 13's in prod, and generally speaking, you should know always what release you have in test and prod. Is one of the things that you guys should always, kind of communicate across your team, so that you always are on top of that particular piece of information. I never am the person to ask that question to.
But show them how they can go look that up.
Oh, I can.
While you're there.
Gosh darn, you're so good. All right. So how do I look it up? So I'm on the main system right now, or do I have to close this? Right?
No, you can just go under help about this page, right?
Is it right here? Help?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's about this page right here, right?
Mm-hmm.
No, it's a
No, not about the page. It's a Microsoft. No, you can go there.
Yeah, I was in the right spot. It was about
help.
Microsoft.
Yeah,
So anytime you click on here, you can know what version you're running. So we're in dev, so we're pretending that we're already in 14. Now 14 hasn't been issued. So we probably we could even put something there to tell us, but it doesn't matter. But for us, this is what it'll say. So for you, if you went to test, you probably would get 3.01.13, and in prod you get 3.01.12. So that's a way to do it. So.
Thank you.
Okay, good. Thank you, Linda. I appreciate that. Add ASN number to the GL allocation tab of the employee job page. So what we're just simply talking about there is back departments, employees. I'll pick up Melissa. She's always my guinea pig. All right, Melissa. Always happy to be the guinea pig.
Yes. I'm a glutton for punishment.
So we're talking, if I close all these tabs, it's actually even easier to see. So in the tab, that's the GL allocation. We added the ASN number there as well for people that use the ASN. If you don't use the ASN, then you don't see that. But we do know the ASN because it is in the allocation lines, and so that's all. This is where this data is really coming from. It's just a display of what's in the allocation connected to this employee job, and people wanted to see the ASN there because we've got a district that they only know their accounting system from their ASN, not from their actual account string. Don't ask me why. That's a whole separate discussion that I won't get into. Time journal and payroll journal promote visibility of account string. So this is new. I've been noticing this. Anybody that wants to comment on it, maybe back to Linda or to Melissa. But I'm noticing in this example right here, this account string, and I've got no allocation in here for some reason, but I'll just do that. Let me just, let's go back above it. So I'm not sure why it's not showing up there. Let me see.
You have an account string on your allocation?
I would assume so. I mean, let me just go farther down. I don't know. I mean, well, it's multiple account strings is what it says there. So if it's a single account string, it's going to do something like
There you
that.
go.
Right, there you go. So the design here, I don't know what used to be there. I guess this was basically blank. Now there are the three dots there, and the three dots just bring up the allocation. So it's just also an edit assist to bring up the allocation quickly.
And if you have multiple, then you can click on the dots and see what the multiples are.
Right. Is that all what 1036 did? Is it doing it also, you say, on the payroll journal too? Do we have the same feature in the payroll journal? Okay, so let's just kind of see if we believe that. I'm sure we do.
It just gives more visibility to the account string.
Oh, okay. So there it is down there. Okay. All right. Okay. So that's what 1036 was all about. Use the Boolean unique account string per ASN. Yes, I'm not sure. I guess there's a little bit of stuff going on with the unique account string per ASN. I guess what we're going to do there is maybe show the ASNs then in that case. Do you know what we're doing with that? If you doesn't really say. Mohammed might know that. I don't know. Mohammed, did you do this work? Is this your work?
The ASN?
No, this account string on the payroll journal.
I'm not sure why that's on the account string with the payroll journal. This is just a new field that's added to the GL setup that says.
Yeah, just the last bullet there on the 1036 says use the Boolean unique account string per ASN in general ledger setup. This means enforce unique account string per ASN when set to yes. So I don't know what that means relative to this work order. So that's all I was just asking. So,
I think it might show the ASN down here instead if that flag is set to yes.
Right, that's what I'm guessing. That's what I'm guessing. So that's for Worcester. There we go. I don't want to see that. I want to see the ASN. Right. That's what I want. Right. Okay. All right, 1051 GL reclass budget plan number bug. When you use the process to reclass a budget journal entry, the budget plan number is not being updated on the reclass entry. This causes the dollars to not show up. So this is a feature that when we first wrote it, I think in our minds, we were thinking it's mainly moving actual entries. And as time has gone on, people have been reclassing, let's just say, actual entries. So they've actually been going to the budget. I just had a budget number there. And so there's a field behind the scenes. Maybe it's not shown on my screen. Maybe it is. Yeah, there it is right there, budget plan number. And so what was happening is that they were running the reclass tool, and unbeknownst, we were not copying over the plan number to the new entry. And so it was really causing a major problem because then it became blank. And really, the budget plan number always needs to be filled in on transaction type of budgets. So that definitely wasn't a good thing. We didn't realize it. We kind of, when we built this, thought it was mainly moving actual entries from, account string A to account string B. As people started to use it for budget entries, completely makes sense that plan number needs to move over. So that was just a miss on our part. We fixed that in 1051. So that's just that basically. Okay. Reconcile AP to GL report, item description field length too short. So NAV at a certain point had increased descriptions from 30 to 50 in certain reports. And again, this is just a native bug, if you will. Maybe it was fixed by Microsoft at some point, but we discovered it on our end and we just fixed this report. This report is an interesting report. The AP to GL is used reconcile really, really reconcile your balance, I guess. Let's just kind of go look at it. I can't remember why people used to run this. I think it's quite honestly more of an inventory report. Do you remember who reported this? Which district reported this? This is Ohio. Yeah, Ohio reported this. Do you guys remember this issue at all?
I do not.
Yeah, it's this reconcile AP to GL report. Yeah, I just can't remember why we run this report. GL account. So that's right. So it kind of sums up the value of quantity that's been received and not invoiced. So, at any given time, and it really is as of any given time, we can run this report and understand the total dollar value, if you will, of product or services that have been received and not invoiced. So that's what this report does. And I don't know how many people are running it, but it also works with other GL accounts or inventory. And I think there was a bug in terms of it got error if you were more characters, but that's a separate issue. That bug was fixed. But the report itself can be interesting because people want to know sometimes what is the value to the system of product and services I've received, but I haven't invoiced it yet. It's kind of like that's sort of an unrecorded liability in a sense. Time leave journal, leave only batches missing the line count display. I didn't know that.
Yep.
So
Not
this
now,
was,
but it was.
yeah. So what you're saying here is when we went into, let's say, the leave one, right? And you went here, this line count wasn't filled in.
Right.
It said 0. And probably the same thing would have been, I'm sure, on the third option as well. The both, I'm sure both of them were failing. So now that has been corrected. So that is good that somebody reported that, and good that we fixed it. All right, 1110, employee job creation from time journal set as default job if employee has no other jobs. If creating a new employee directly from the time journal, directly from the time journal, the employee has no other employee jobs, the newly created job should be marked as a default job for the employee. Aha, so we weren't doing that. So if it was like no jobs at all, first time the person's worked and they create the job on the fly, the idea is that that job most likely is their default job. And that's the behavior we seek to change, and that's what we did in this particular work order. That makes sense. I'm surprised a little bit that you're in the time journal and there's never been a job set up for the employee at all. So I guess what that says is...
This was discovered at Worcester when they were doing their first payroll.
But they were actually onboarding people, setting up no jobs at all.
Right.
These were hourly temp type people, and they were wanting to create the job on the fly the first time the person issued a time report or filled in a time report.
Right.
Interesting process from an HR perspective. I'm not having a problem with it. It's just, interesting. So that's good. I mean, now we accommodate that.
I'm sorry, quick question on that. Is an
Sure.
hourly or per diem job necessary to be well, I see what it's saying, default job on the employee. Never mind, skip my question.
Yeah, it wouldn't matter. So if the first job was a per diem job, if that's the job you picked when you created, it would then become that default job. They're just simply saying that no job, a job, default job, and if that's not right, I mean I think it's kind of hard to believe that the first time report they would get would be a secondary job. You know what I mean? It's kind of like that's a little hard to imagine. So I think it makes sense. Typically most people just have one job, 95% of the time, and so I think that's a reasonable stance to take. AP check report, check stub title missing. The stub title's not printing on the check stub, see Word document. So there must have been on one of the check reports something wrong with one of the layouts. And Mohammed, I'm sure you fixed that. It has your name all over it, looks like to me. And that looked like, I'm not sure how it got off, but it's been fixed. Payroll processing errors, net pay. I think I worked on this one. Processing the payroll when the net pay is greater than 0 needs to be an error rather than a warning. When we say greater than 0, net pay is normally a negative number. So what we really mean is when it's greater than 0, it's negative net pay. For people that are not used to our system, that's sort of a funky statement to say, but that's really how it works. So we decided to make it an error rather than a warning, so it gets trapped in the calculation errors, needs to be fixed, and then you can go ahead and recalculate the entire payroll. And this is, I think, one of the features that I think people don't necessarily always use, but when you come back on the calculate and you've gotten several errors, you've cleared all the errors, you really don't need a calc single employee because it's actually less efficient. It's better to just fix all of them, come back here, and then just simply click this button right here. Go ahead and recalculate only employees that are incomplete or have errors. It's also interesting that you can't click this clear previously calculated entries first. Oh, I know why. Because that option clears the entries for all the employees in the batch, which you wouldn't want to do. So the recalculate is smart enough to know that it has to clear it just for that one employee. But it's really nice. If I have 7 people that are in error situations, and again, now the negative net pay is one of them, go fix them all. You don't have to recalc single 7, 8 times. Just come back one time and let it rip through. And it will go ahead and just do that and clear, and hopefully you'll come back with no errors, and you'll be ready for error check online as your next step. So does that sound, Linda, about the right in terms of procedure?
Mm-hmm.
Got that good? Okay, good. GL overview request page. Yeah, we were having some significant performance issues over time with this GL overview. It took about an hour for Rowan to do some stuff. So I guess I don't remember. I guess in the 13th release is when we really changed the performance significantly on that one. Is that correct? So I think we've gotten a much faster GL overview, which is what we're talking about, of course, for those that might not know, is under General Ledger in this option called GL overview. We were having just time. It was just taking time. And now it's, of course, this is a very small query. It's been sped up tenfold. What we found out, well, I won't go through the technical points, but we found out a nice way to write a couple lines of code. Ended up taking like 2 lines of code, and that's always the way this stuff works. But Ben was very helpful, as usual, in doing some SQL tracing and giving us some analytics that at least got my brain in going into it, and I was able to kind of write a couple lines of code, and it solved it significantly. So we're very happy about that. And it also, I think, we've increased the performance just of the GL account strings as well. So this is a screen that was also very sluggish over time, and we've kind of increased its performance across all our clients at this point. So I think both those issues, which were related and are related, have been resolved, and I feel pretty confident that performances are a thing of the past. One thing that I've been hearing, just as people have been using 2015 nav, is that the performance metrics from 2015 versus 2013 R2, a dramatic increase, dramatic higher performance, much faster. 2016 is even going to be faster. So the good thing is that we've done a lot of tweaking. That's great, but then we actually go with the newer version. It's going to be even that much better. So we're very excited to get on to the newer versions of nav for if no other reason, just performance increases. I'm very happy about that. Invoice list post by batch, problem posting to each other's batch. So this was something that I think is always worth talking about. So our design here is that we went through a lot of different screens, but I'll just go to the purchase invoices screen. And we added the created by right here, right there. There it is, created by. So what happens is people want to filter for their created by. Let's say I'm Andrew. So if I go and filter on this, one of the things to note is, and I could go ahead and post batch, I could do summary report, and it would just work on that filter. So if I just, for instance, clicked on this button, it would just go ahead and filter that way. And I could then post batch. So if I go post batch, it would filter that way. So that was good. That satisfied the need. However, people didn't realize that when I come back here and go right back in, that filter is removed. And that's just native behavior. That's how it works. So that's really not the full training. The full training is to say, go ahead and filter on whoever you are, and then go ahead and create a view. Okay, and I'll call it, my invoices. Okay, and I can put it, I guess, in home. It's fine. Alrighty. And so now my invoices. So if they just go here all the time, that filter will stay all the time. And so it'll be just constantly being able to go back and get to there, just there. So I know that a call came through support. I can't remember. And it wasn't Allie. It was Roxanne. It was Sal. I just don't remember who it was.
Yeah.
And I said that training has been missed. We have to use our save views. We have to use our interface functionality that Microsoft has bestowed upon us in a positive way to solve our problems here. We're not going to program this. We're going to go ahead and just use the system as it was designed. And so once we got that out, everybody understood that. But that's a real important thing, that when you want these list screens to be filtered, again, when you open them back up, that's why we have the save view as. So I just want to be careful that that's always what we think about when we're training people. And I'm saying that to you guys at Meta, as well as people on this call from K12. All right, 1186, GL count validator function to automatically create ASN number. Yeah, I'm not sure that's how we ended up doing this. To create the ASN when the GL count string is added, I don't know. Again,
I think it goes the other way. I think you create the account.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go to departments. So we're going to go to ASNs, and I think what we did is we decided to add a functionality here called create new account string. It already exists. Thank you. So if I go ahead and add a new one and just fill it out the way I want it, then I go ahead and create new account string. It'll create it. typically we only expect people to use this button that are using ASNs that fully articulate an account string. We don't know necessarily that the account string is fully articulated, so you're kind of on your own, I believe. I don't think we test for that. So if they just fill out the find the GL account and let's say the object and leave everything blank and click that button, they're going to get an account string just with that, which probably is not going to be usable. So I just want to make that point that it doesn't. It needs to be fully articulated. Wife keeps calling me. Anyway, so that's basically that. Is there anything else, Melissa or Linda, that we need to talk about on that one?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think that covers it.
Just a quick question. I'm sorry, I don't remember the email. When this version goes into effect, will it automatically populate the ASNs into the GL overview or GL account strings? Because when I loaded a district, I have the ASNs loaded in one, but it's not pulling the ASNs into the GL account strings.
Yeah. So yes. Now, if you started life out with no account strings and no ASNs, they just only created ASNs, they always click the create a new string, then yes, that would be the case. You can use the ASN to help create the information in a new account string. So in other words, if I create a new account string, I can just type in the ASN and it will fill in all the other fields, right? But no, we don't just get the ASNs to these existing account strings by some automated process. I think the reason we hesitate, and we've always hesitated with this, and I think we could maybe revisit this now with our new option, because Mohammed's added a new option for us that is over, and Mohammed, you can help me in terms of where it is. In general ledger setup, I believe, right? It's in the account string validation. No, it's in K12E maybe. Yes. So this field now really could allow us to maybe do something different. But in the past, our stance has been that a district could have 3 or 4 ASNs that actually render the same account string. And so we were worried about just doing this on our own. And so I guess long story short, on your end, if you're standing up a new district and you have ASNs and account strings and they're kind of like all interconnected, it's really up to you to add the ASN in your load of the account strings. If you're doing a package, that should be an available field. If it's not, we should add it to the package. It should already be added to the package so that it is part of the package to load in an account string. But I guess my point, though, is that with this unique checkbox, maybe we could do something different.
But I think we need to check that Ben wrote a script to, if you've got a one-to-one, I think he does have a script so that when an existing customer will update, because I'm pretty sure we did that for Worcester.
Yes, but again, he doesn't necessarily, because if we load this software and now this checkbox appears, and they want to go ahead and revert their system, you know what I mean, kind of already in place. I'm not sure. Yes, we can always request that as a one-time process. I guess the concept is once the data is all in sync once, then any new account strings are never entered as new account strings. They never enter new account strings. They enter a new ASN, they hit the create button, and that's that. The only question that I always wonder, I guess, is, should we be doing this automatically? With that little create checkbox, Linda, should we be creating the account string kind of in an automated way? But the question is, when's the person finished on this screen? That's the kind of thing that worries me a little bit, is how do you know the exact event? Right now, they press the button because they know they finished entering the account string. So it's an area that I think we still need to refine. But my point to you really in Ohio is that, yes, if you've got an ASN client and you're loading a bunch of ASNs and you know how they connect to the account strings, which you're also loading in, yes, you need to fill in that ASN for now. But we may end up going to a different methodology and adding more functionality there. And we do have SQL scripts to help you with this as well. So that's all I'll say.
Because I do have one school that way.
Yes, I know you do. And we have now, the the one in Ohio, is it the one in Ohio and Worcester, and of course O&J Roberts when they go live? Do we have others besides that? I mean, might. I mean, I don't know if we have others.
That's all I know about.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Well, technically we have two. We have Vermilion, which you guys weren't as involved in this time, and then we have that Knox. So we have two that are using ASNs.
Gotcha. Okay. So 1187, trial balance reports with ASN. Had the option to show the ASN number on two of the trial balances, the trial balance GL overview and the trial balance detail summary. So again, I'm assuming that's an option. I'm just making that point, not positive about that. So the detail summary, show ASN is a checkbox now, and the overview one, it should be a checkbox somewhere here. There it is. Okay. And again, we make this disappear automatically on both these reports if in fact you don't have any ASNs in your system. So we're trying to do a consistent job to basically purge a system of ASNs when they don't have any ASNs. So be careful of creating just one test ASN record just for fun of it in a client's real database, because we are absolutely going off the fact there's no records to make decisions show or not show. So just a little caution there.
Andrew, in regards to ASNs, on the payroll side, a lot of times with pay allocations, it's been very helpful for them to go ahead and create ASNs based on pay codes for certain jobs. Is there anything that I should be doing or missing when creating that? We have done that as like a creating new, and instead of putting that AL number in there, obviously we're putting like sport ticket taker and putting that account string with that. Is there anything special that I should know on that, doing it from the payroll side?
Well, I guess the question gets back to sort of similar questions we just had, which is this business of, the ASN. Let me see where the ASN is. I don't see the ASN. Oh, there it is. There it is. It's right there.
Okay.
So my question is, so what you're saying is, are you saying that when I load up a system for the first time, should I fill in this field when I bring in the data?
Nope. I'm saying that if you have an employee who has a job of like ticket taker, and you go to do the allocation back on the job when you're on the job and you do the drop down for the allocation, and we come in here where it says number there under the general fast tab.
Well, when you do that, are you hitting this button called create new allocation?
Yes, when we do that, then, or if you go to allocation number and do new, right there where it says A under the general and then number, we're creating a code called like ticket taker, so that there is an association for them so they don't always have to remember the account string, and it reduces the chance of error on that account string.
Well, there's two methods to create the account string number in setup. One is just use a series that just assigns the next number, and the other one is to use a combination of the employee number and the job name. Both of those are assigned automatically, if you will, when you hit create new allocation. It sounds like you're doing neither. You're actually just creating manually your own number. Is that what you're doing?
Well, yeah, kind of creating our own code that is an association to that account string.
Let me ask you this question then. So are you doing that, though, right from this screen, or are you opening up more of the allocations in a generic way?
There's all kinds of ways to skin that cat. I'm doing it from here. I'm doing it from the job screen. On the allocation, if you drop down that allocation number and go to new, obviously it brings up this window, doing it from there, but ultimately it's all from this table right here.
Okay, I understand that. So your desire there is to create more generic allocations that can be used across multiple employees.
Absolutely.
Because anybody that's a ticket taker, why do I have to have something, why do I have to have a unique allocation when I got 17 ticket takers? And I 100% applaud that, that idea. Normally our concept is that you've set up those allocations ahead of time, kind of in the main area, and now you're just sort of assigning them by just going to the allocation number field and just typing it in, typing TIC, it opens up and you pick ticket taker, right?
Yes.
So now that I understand all that, what's your question?
Okay, I'm sorry. Is that creating an ASN, or is that not an ASN? Is that just an allocation code?
That's an allocation
I want to make
code.
Sure I'm
that
not
is not
missing.
Yes,
okay.
That's an allocation code. Is different than ASN. ASN is just a shortcut to the account string, but the allocation really is at a higher level that takes multiple account strings / ASNs and puts them together. So it is absolutely something different, and you're absolutely not creating an ASN when you're creating one of these. They're separate issues. Doesn't mean that you couldn't also have ASN called ticket taker. But
Right.
but they're two pieces of data. It's your choice. It's your
Okay.
desire, whatever
I
you
just
want.
wanted to make sure I wasn't missing a connection because we
No.
get busy doing everyday stuff. I want to make sure there was no connection that I
No.
was missing to mess anybody
No.
up. Okay,
No,
great.
you can
Okay,
call
sorry
this
about that.
you
Thank
can
you.
call this Joe and call this Mary, and nobody cares. As
Great.
long as you know what it means, then that's all we care about.
Okay,
Right.
thank you very much for
Right.
that clarity. I want to make sure I wasn't missing a piece, so
No,
thank you.
that's good. That's good. All right, journal entry import routine. We added an option to use ASN to get the account string. So when we say an option, what controls that option? So do you know, Linda? Or
I
anybody
don't know.
Okay. I think what we decided to do, and maybe Mohammed, you worked on this, we just added an additional column for ASN. If it's present, we just use that. If it's not present,
Right.
we just don't use it.
I think that's right.
Right. So there's nothing on the journal pop-up screen that has an option. Let's just confirm that. I don't think that that's the case.
No, I think it just imports it, and if it has an ASN, it uses it to get the account
Right.
number, so they don't have to have the full string.
Right, just confirming here that there's no option here. Right, okay. Yes, so we will go ahead and stipulate that's what we think is going on, and I'm sure that's what's going on. Okay, purchase documents, numbering enhancements. So, Mohammed, you may need to jump in. I know that in the user setup, we have a user setup that controls this. So let's go to users. Let's go ahead and pop up myself, pop up here. And so we've added new fields here. This is these two series right here. So if the system sees a requisition number series and a purchase order number series filled in here, then when that user creates a new requisition, instead of using the default purchase and payable requisition number series, it uses this number series. So if you had, let's say, 10 buildings and you had 10 sets of requisition numbers and 10 sets of purchase order number series, you could assign that to the persons that are in building A, B, C, and D all the way through the 10th building. So generally speaking, you would fill in both of these. You don't have to. You could have, again, 10 different requisition number series, and if you leave the purchase number series blank on the user setup card, it would just go back again to the purchase payable setup and use the purchase number series as the main one to map it to. But we had a lot of people wanting to control at a more, I guess, building level, the requisition number and purchase order numbering series, so they could easily identify more like a smart number related to the building. I'm not a huge fan of this personally, but that's what we were needed to do because people just really wanted that, so we did that. So that's what we did there. Need to introduce the ability for PO numbers to be assigned manually when requisition number is turned into a PO. So we also have another ability, and again, I think that's on the requisition review screen. Is that right, Mohammed? Mom, are you listening to us?
Yes.
Okay. Is that right, though?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, just double checking. So here, is it a hidden column? I believe it is. Maybe not.
No, fulfillment document number.
Oh, fulfillment document number. So what you're saying is, I guess I'd have to see if I have any in here. Yeah. Fulfillment document number. Oh, so I would actually just be typing in the number. Right. So it's not a series. It's just a number is what it is. So what happens is if it's left blank, then the system will use either the purchase and payable numbering series or the user setup series, or if you fill it in, the PO will just be whatever you told me it is. And again, I'm assuming if I type in 1, 2, 3, it'll repeat 1, 2, 3. Oh, I need to have that filled in first, right? So let's go order.
Do the second line.
Huh?
Yes, it's one entry.
Oh, I see. So I have to just go like this? I mean, how does it?
Yeah, that's it. And enter the fulfillment number. You don't have to select even order for all lines.
You want the same requisition, I think, with multiple lines as.
Is this with multiple lines? Oh no, it's not. I'm sorry.
No,
yeah,
yeah.
I guess I could read
The second and
better.
third lines are the
All
same
right.
order.
Thank you. I'm just stupid today. Sorry.
It automatically selects the decision as well.
Yeah. So you have to have so that you're expecting the decisions to be made. So we'll decide all lines. I guess. Let's just go. Is there any other multiples here? No, of course I used. There's
Yeah,
one.
that one.
So decide lines. Put in I gotcha. Beautiful. All right. And we had to do this for our Caribbean client. Don't ask me why.
That's right.
It's a long story. It's an interesting story. Linda and I lived on that story when we were down in the Caribbean, having fun talking to those characters. But it was very important for their workflow purposes. So we really did enhance the system in really multiple ways there with this same work order. And I think it's so far been, knock on wood, working pretty well. But anyway, so there's some notes on there, but generally I think that's the gist of 1199. Okay, 1206. Oh gosh, I remember 1206. Printed and emailed receipts and receivables enhancements to include ability to handle donations with receipts and ability to generate printed or emailed receipts per specification. So I guess my question to you guys is, I felt like I've trained people on this before. I'm surprised it's in this release. I thought it was released before this. So what we're talking about is in deposits. Okay, I've got customer deposits in here. I've got GL accounts, which is good. Ready to post, we can talk about sort of what that is. But anyway, so the deposits are here. We added the ability to do a printed receipt. We also added the ability to do comments. And I know that I was getting some headache from somebody who said, well, we can't put the same document number in on more than one line. System gives you this error. Okay, and the reason that's the case is because we wanted to do comments. We needed to be able to do comments. So in the line comments, they connect, if you will, back into the line based on the document number, not the line number. And this is just because this is a general journal line. This is a deposit header. This is a general journal line. General journal lines have comments already. So we really didn't want to invent a whole new construct of comments, since we already have journal level comments. Comments connect to the journal by document number. The idea is I'm putting a journal entry with 5 lines in, and this is the comment on this journal entry, not this line, but this journal entry as known by the document number and posting date, if you will. So that's why we're leveraging general journal here. We're not leveraging, that's just how it's designed. And so comments really require it to be anchored in by document number. And so I realized pretty quickly, since these are really separate lines to us, it would make no sense if the comments I put on line A were now being inferred to be related to line B on the printed receipt. So that's why I had to put in this rule that you can't put the same document number in. So if for some reason you really think you need to put the same number in, can you put a dash A and dash B? I don't know why the check that the person's given you or whatever. I mean, yes, I understand the customer can give you check 1, 2, 3, and the next customer can come in and give you check 1, 2, 3. I know that they have the same, different checkbooks could have the same number. I know that could happen, but I feel like we could just do a -2 or something and make it work. So I don't know, Linda, if you agree with that, but that's how I answered that email. I thought I didn't get anybody pushing me back beyond that one response. Okay. So at this point, I'm still sticking with that. When you do this, and notice the Control-Shift-P, that could be important, because if you're doing this real time and people are in a building, let's say you're in the high school and they have a PC and people are lined up, giving you fees. And again, this is going to kind of connect to the student billing system, which I haven't. We're going to roll out, and then hopefully, I think we will roll it out in the next release. Mm-hmm. So in the next 14th release, you will have an entire student billing system for activity charges, graduation fees, all kinds of stuff. Pretty extensive. So in that, if you have them taking the money, people are bringing money to, let's say, the high school, and you've got a little kiosk guy who works in the back office, works for the high school, is taking in this money. It kind of needs to be quick, because you know how kids are. They're lined up and they don't have much patience. So the design there of doing the hotkey there is to make it so you do a Control-Shift-P, and then this would pop up. One thing to note is that there is receivable setup. So let me just quickly take a quick gander at that. So we'll go to Financial Management, Receivables, and we'll come down to Setup. And there's a fast tab now been added called Deposit Receipts. And in there, you get to fill in a few things. Do you want to print a signature on the receipt? Who is the signatory of that? What's their title? And can you give me that signature? So this is just basic information to say, do you want to go ahead and do a receipt? Do you want that receipt to be signed, basically? So you just put that in. Hopefully you guys can have just one signatory. If we have to have multiples, then we'll have to come up with another design, because right now it doesn't really accommodate that. Okay, so printed receipt. Notice that number of copies. So if I want to do 2 copies, I could do 1. Number of copies 1 means you'll get 2 pieces of paper. Do I want to print the comments? Do I want to print the federal ID? That can be important sometimes, particularly if it's going to be like a donation or something like that. You're required usually to put the federal ID on there. What is the report title? Any message you want to put, just some global message on there. And also notice this line right here, line 30,000. What that means is that if I print this, which I will now do, it's printed just for the line I was on. It was that first line, the GL line, shows the ASN, the account string. I don't have really a person's name except vis-a-vis the comments. Donation to New Gym, da-da-da, thanks a bunch, signed. Okay, receipt number, check number, date. Real simple, nothing complicated. Federal ID number. Real simple format. We're hoping they like the generic version of it, but that's basically what that does. If I go to the next line and press the button again, and again I can do Control-Shift-P and hit print, but I'll just hit this PDF since we're all online. Okay, this is a customer version. Okay, Dorset spelled wrong. What can I say? I didn't put that in. We'll blame that on Tammy. She's not here anymore, so she can defend herself. Anyway, so my point, though, is if you wanted to print them all from this particular deposit, then all you have to do is come in here and just delete this line. Boom, then you're good to go. And so now I should get 2 pages. 2 pages, right? Okay. So you get the idea there. So anyway, this ready to post is really related to the limited user version of the deposit system, which is not really part of the context of this particular work order. But that's the receipt side. The email side is just normal email. I mean, you just hit send, just however you normally would do that in any of the reports that come out of NAV. So there wasn't anything specific that we did there in terms of emailing at this point. We just decided to just sort of put this out there first, get comments on it, get feedback, and then if we need something a little bit fancier, we're happy to do it. But anyway, so that's the concept there. Oh gosh, 1250 vendor remit to. So this is a very big item, and we do know that there's some issues with it already, and we're having a meeting later today to go through some of those issues that are going to have to get resolved, and we may have to advance some of this stuff, meaning that we may have to push it before we actually push 14. But I'll just go through what we did. I feel like I've trained you guys on this before, but maybe not. We did so much in that release. Sometimes it's hard to believe that this is all still just the 13th release. So we had on the vendor card in the 12th release and before, I always bring up Testy Smythe. We had a remit to tab, if you guys remember. The remit to tab has been removed. We don't have it any longer. And through SQL scripting, if the vendor had a remit to information filled in and it was checked to say that we do want to go ahead and use that as the printed remit to, we then would create one remit to address record. The goal here was to create an unlimited number of remit tos per vendor. So where we had just one set of fields different from the main name and address, we wanted to have the ability to have unlimited number. So if I have Verizon and I need to have 17 different Verizon addresses because I get 17 different remit to invoices from them for different buildings across the entire district, you now can just have one vendor set up the 17 remit tos and of course process it at the transactional level, which we'll talk about in a second. But the first part is just the setup. So in the setup, we've added and navigated an option called remit to addresses. In the remit to addresses, we will, as I said before, convert in the one that you might have already had set up. I believe we set it as default as the one, right? I'm pretty sure we did. Because matter of fact, I think this is the one that actually Ben did for us. So he would go ahead and create the one. He'll call it default. He'll put it out there. But let me just kind of open it up and just show you the fields. It's pretty straightforward. Okay, real straightforward. We do have some other additional fields, but for the most part, it's real simple. And then we have another field over here. and this is the default behavior. So if you fill this in and you go ahead and keystroke, let's say a PI or purchase order or whatever to this vendor, the system will automatically bring in the default remit to value into the invoice. So let's actually go see how that's done. So let's go ahead and put a new invoice in for this vendor. Old Smitty. All right, let me just pick old Smitty. There we go. So watch, but as I tab through, watch this field down here under the invoicing tab. I should fill in with an A. Okay, see it filled in with an A. And if I want to pick a different one, all right, let me go ahead and put in, I'll put a commodity code in here to get something in here. All right, because I'm going to post this actually. Make sure I got some dollars in there. $5, good enough for me. If I don't change this, it's going to go ahead and go to that address. And you can actually see the difference in address. You can see the invoicing coming in there versus the the normal address, if you will. Okay, well, actually you don't see the address itself, but there it is, East Smith Road. Okay, so this is here. If you want to change it, you just do a lookup. It'll show you the choices, and you can just pick the choices. Pretty simple lookup, pretty easy to read. Should be able to verify that against the paperwork in front of you. At that point, test report, post, etc. So this part is normal. We'll post it. And let's actually go to the vendor card now, look at the vendor ledger entries. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up old Smitty again. This time I'm going to go to his ledger. This ledger is pretty big because I use this guy constantly. But here, somewhere in the one I just did, $5, is probably right here. Notice this field, remit to address. So we see it right here. Can we change it? I don't remember. Let me see if I can change it. Yes, I can. Okay, so you can see that after I post, I think it's only if it's still open. Once you've paid it, it doesn't let you do this anymore. It will go ahead and allow you to change it. So if you made a mistake and you realize after you posted before you actually suggested to the vendor payments, you can change it. I believe you might even be able to change it when you suggest. Let's now go and suggest. So we're going to go to the payment journal. I'm going to go ahead and delete this batch. Okay, I'm going to resuggest. Okay, that's fine. I don't know if this is my Smitty guy. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and just blank that out. Let's see, today's date. Da-da-da, I'm not going to do electronic. We're just going to do computer check. Make it simple. I'm not going to do that. Okay, pretty much straightforward. Press the button. Okay. So if you look in here, the document number is pre-filled in. And there's another field over here called remit to address. And that is editable. So if you wanted to, you could. If you wanted to change it right now, you could. But I would recommend that you change it here as well. The reason is that when you print the checks, these document numbers are replaced with check numbers. At that point, if you void, it tries to put back the document number filled in with these values here. And so if these values are not been updated, it's going to go back. So I guess my example would be if I change this to a B, okay, and I cut the check right now, when I void it, and I'll do that in a second, and I picked a credit memo. Let me just go ahead and also, yeah, I got to be careful. I don't want to pick that one. Let me just pick this one. Okay. So now when we cut the checks, bank account, I think that's fine. I think that's all fine. PDF.
So when you change that document number, that's changing the remit to?
Yes, that changed the remit to. So now my second check is going to have 2 on it. See? See it has 2 of them on there. We only had 1 by default. It changes it dynamically. Yes. It just did it. However, let's just pretend I void all checks. This is what I wanted to show you. So if I go ahead and void all checks, notice it brought back the A because I did not change the field over there. Okay, so I just want to get you guys that point. Second point is, or not second point, but an important thing. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Let me ask you something because this is causing, it's probably one of the things we have to talk about this afternoon. So what happens if I blank that document number out?
Well, again, if you're not blanking out, again, let's just do this just to make this easier. Let me move
if
this
I want to use the remit to vendor, but I blank out that document number, is it not going to use remit? I need to tell some people because I've told them how.
Yeah,
that's my workaround.
if you want to blank it out, right? And
Yeah.
force these all, because what we're doing, and let me just explain a little bit, is that the check printing program automatically was always doing with this checkbox one check per vendor per document number. So we
Right.
realized quickly that if we could just put something there, and so what was the something? Well, let's let it be the remit to, because then it would be consistent. If I have, in my example where I have 2 different remit to addresses and I've got 5 invoices, let's just actually kind of make it a little simpler just from just a discussion point of view. And so if I have, something like this, again, I'm now actually changing it like that, right? So the system is smart enough to say it already was, by definition, putting this on check A, right, on check B. That's all it did. But the
Right.
problem is that this is how it knows how to put it back. This column here is how it knows how to put it back if you were to void. Because once I replace this with check numbers, how else would it know to put back the numbers? It's just putting back what was suggested from the invoice screen, which is also editable, into this field, right?
But if I change this document number, if I go wipe out all the A's in the document number, but I don't change the remit to,
and you void, it's still going to come right back.
I'm not worried about the void.
Can you just delete the A in the document number field?
Right. And the check still prints to my remit to vendor.
Right.
No, it does not.
Why? That's the purpose of the code and the remit to address. Yeah, it does actually.
Well, actually, it does. So in this case, right here, this
Thank you.
Yeah, this is a disaster. This would be an absolute disaster, because what's going to happen is it's going to cut one check, right?
Uh-huh.
And then let's go. Well, I'll show you the disaster. We'll now see the
prints
disaster.
one to each one.
Does not. Produces one check, and it just happens to randomly pick one of them. I don't know if it's the first one or the second one. I have no clue, but that's called a disaster.
Oh no,
that's bad.
That's a disaster. You never want to do that. That would be a total disaster.
I need to call, because I've told people to blank that out because it was messing up the check number. So now I need to.
Yeah.
I mean, but it looked like it was working.
No, it's not working. They have checks going God knows where. God knows
it did,
where.
Linda. I agree.
Get off the
It did
phone.
look like it was working.
Yeah, no, it's not working. That's an absolute disaster. Because what the system's doing is it's absolutely critical that this data really be in sync. So if you're blanking these out, fine, blank these out. But I can tell you right now, the main address is going to be the address on that check. If you want the remit to address to be the remit to address, you can't do what you're trying to do. It's not possible. End of story. Because how would it know? Okay, let's just think about it again. Okay. So it's,
well, how did it know before we had the remit to address code in play here? It knew before.
Well, that's different because it's just a flat amount of fields on a vendor card. So yes, you're right. Then when it cuts the one check, it only has one chance. If it's going to put it all in one check, do we all agree that you only can put one address on the check? I mean, I know it's almost a stupid statement, but that's just the reality statement. If you're producing one check, you have one chance for an address, right? I mean, this document number is how we get multiple checks or not. If you force it onto one check.
Oh, but you've got all the same vendor number.
Well, again, so there's only happening within a vendor anyway.
Yeah.
Conversation.
So Linda, you're fine. Yeah.
Okay.
Because the vendor only has one remit to. In your situation, Linda.
Yes.
Right. It's a one-to-one relationship. Yeah.
But it's not using the remit to address then either. So it is still a problem.
Well, I guess the question is they only have one remit to, right?
Right.
So what you're saying is they're doing this, right? That's fine. I have no problem with that. That to me is totally fine.
Okay.
It's only when you have multiples here that you're going to have a problem.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, this is totally fine. This will use, because what it's doing is it's just probably using the last record to determine it. That's probably what it's doing.
Okay.
Again, let's just print the check again, so we're all clear about this. I'm glad we're having this conversation.
It's still an issue though with the order of check printing.
Oh, I know that. We're going to talk about that today. I'm not trying to dispute that at all.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to make this
Okay.
point.
I got it now. Okay, because I was telling them to blank that out, but they only have one remit to. So
yeah, then you're good to go. You're golden.
Okay.
Then that would work.
Hey, Andrew, this is Ashley. I have a question.
Sure.
What if, for example, I needed 3 separate checks, but only to one remit to? So in the document, I could do like A1, A2, A3, and it's going to give me 3 separate checks to the same remit to?
Yeah, let's do it. Okay. So there I go, right?
Right.
Okay, let's print them and see what we get. I think the main street's what we want, so we know that. All right, so let's just do it. Let's do it. I have no idea. I've never tested this. I don't know why I'm doing this live on a call to a million people, but there's one on a check, and it's Main Street. There's one on a check, and it's Main Street, and one check, and it's Main Street. That's the correct results. Yes.
Great.
Now, if I void all checks, let's see what happens. Okay, just put that back, because remember what we're doing. Remember, I mean, anyway, so I'm giving Melissa and Linda some thought processes, and we have our meeting later on, because what they're complaining about, interesting enough, and I do understand the issue, the system doesn't know how to still keep the sort by, I guess, vendor, right? And so it takes the vendors that have the remit tos and puts them at the bottom of the heap, right? They come out last. And that's not exactly what they were hoping for. And so when you have a large check run, how do we get it so it still respects kind of that earlier sort of way that it presented to the journal, but still does the remit to stuff we're trying to do here? And I think I know the answer to the question already, but we'll talk about it in our afternoon call. So that's problem A. Problem B is the liabilities to AP. When those vendors have remit tos, we didn't even consider that as using the main address. Is that correct, Linda?
I'm sorry, what?
The remit to code field is just empty.
It's empty on the liabilities to AP, right? Right. And that's an easy solution. So we have a couple problems that have been identified since we put this out there that will be fixed and advanced, and we'll keep you guys up to date at the Meta about that. But anyway, so that's all I'm going to talk about that, unless there's anybody else has any questions and thought processes about 1250. I think 1250, once we get it right, will be appreciated. Right now, I think I'm probably causing more problems than I'm solving, but hopefully it'll be appreciated, I'm hoping. Okay, 1277, general test report, add ASN. I'm not going to even go over that. Add deposits and journal lines to the ERC menu. Enable limited user entry of deposits and journals from the ERC, but without the ability to post. User will require indirect access to all GL account strings in this area. Add allow deposit boolean in the user setup card, which is not exactly how we did it, but copy document. Do we have a copy document functionality, a test report, and so forth? So that's kind of what we're asking here. So first and foremost, I want to boot up the web client. So let me just kind of see where that is. I think it's this guy here. I'm on a slightly different view of this data, this screen. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to do something that probably Microsoft doesn't want us to be able to do. I'll just put that thought out there to everybody's listening. So we are pushing the envelope. So you may get an occasional message that says they don't have insert rights to do whatever. Just tell them to close the session and come back. Should work. It's falling within what's called the rule of 3. Because we don't get these tables as being exempt tables, so they have to only be able to modify 3 tables according to what they're allowed to do. So under the Finance tab, there's a new functionality that's been added, and it is called Deposits. Okay, so before I go there, let's go to User Setup. Let's talk about what we have to do to set this bad boy up. All right, so let's just kind of, well, I don't want to go there. I want to go to my AVF by itself, which is the limited user AVF. In there, in the additional setup fields, we've added 2 new fields, deposit template name and batch. Okay. Furthermore, in the batch, I want to emphasize that it is important to fill it out similar to this. You need to set up the journal batch so that the balance account type is bank account. That is required. You need to tell us what bank this limited user is going to be depositing this money into. That is required. The control fund, and there's a work order. I didn't see it come through. And Bill, I'll just mention this to you. James discovered that he's getting a error out on Red Deer or somebody, I think it was Red Deer, where he couldn't even fill this in because of an interfund setup. He's not allowed to put the control fund, but yet I'm making sure the control fund is actually really there. So there's an interfund setup where it's never can be put here, and so we need to do a work order to fix this. I'm basically requiring the control fund to be filled out on the journal batch, and in certain interfund cases, that's actually not even permitted, and so that's an improper test. I should only be tested under certain interfund situations. So I need a work order to fix that. He discovered that, and James has more detail on that. He has the verbiage surrounding that, but we need to fix that. So what happens is if you can't get this value here, when that limited user goes to the ERC and clicks the button that says you've not been set up properly, go see your administrator, basically. Number series, right now I don't think needs to be set up. I think what happens is the number series is just falling back to the standard number series. So pretty much that's the general setup. You then fill these fields in, so then when you're on the ERC and you click this button, then the screen would come up. Otherwise, you'll get a message that the screen will not come up. On this screen, the things that they can do right now is only deposit to GL accounts through ASN, fund number, and so forth, debit, credit accounts, so forth and so on. Deposit amount, it's not total. I'll just put 22 to make it so it's proper. That gets to 0. They can pick their posting date. To ready to post, they have a checkbox here. So what we want them to do is we want them to check this. They do also have a test report. I believe it's the standard test report. It might not be. It actually may have been a special report for them. So let's just run the test report. I just press the button, and it's waking up the engine that does reporting right now, which has been sleeping. So it just woke up and rendered the report. So it's a pretty simple report. Okay, nothing to it. Okay, they can't post, they can't submit, there's no workflow on it. They can copy, and they can only copy from deposits that they previously created. So if they do somewhat of a standard deposit where it's the cafeteria money and then it's this money and it's that money and the description of the accounts are all the same, then they can bring it all in. I don't think it brings the amounts in. I think it just brings in all the structure, basically. Then they can drop in the amounts, put their deposit total, make sure it gets to 0, click the ready button, and they're good to go. Okay. We also then, in the back office, and I don't have the queue running right now, but I will just sort of imagine it. I don't think I do. Let me just close this up. Can't remember what role center I'm running right now. No, unfortunately I'm not. But on the normal finance role center, there's been a queue added that says deposits ready to post. And so that checkbox, so if I come here, they would see a queue that says there's 2 deposits, 3 deposits ready to post. But then if I just go to cash management, you kind of can see where it's coming from. It's this checkbox here. Okay? So the idea is that once a day, once every other day, whatever, the user that's in charge of this, that's in the back office, who's a full user, looks at their queue, sees there's a few deposits to post, and can go ahead and process that. They could even, I don't know if they can post batch here. Yeah, they can post right from here. They can't post batch, but they can just do that, for instance. And it'll just post it. Okay, because we do require that the posting has to be done by a full user, cannot be done by a limited user. There's no real workflow. The workflow is click it, ready to post. But that's our deposits on the web. So that's what, which number are we on? 1282 is all about. There is a attachment that Bill sent that I'm just looking through here and see if there's anything. I might have put some caveats in. Okay, building, keep in mind. So one thing that I also got already, and Linda, maybe you're aware of this, where people are complaining because it has to be posted before they can do a new one.
That was receipts. That was receipts.
Oh, okay. That's not.
I don't think that was deposits. I think it was receipts.
Okay.
PO receipts.
PO receipts. I'm sorry. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because the restriction here is that they can only have one batch open at a time. So if they keep going back to their batch, it won't empty out until somebody posts it. And so we do require that they either alert, email, the main office, or they do something, or they just do it on their own. But whatever, they need to process it before they can go ahead and create a new one. So that's kind of the concept there. This is just where it's going.
Wait, Andrew.
Yes.
Are you saying that, okay, if the food service person goes out and they do a deposit on Monday, when they go in Tuesday if the full user hasn't posted it, they can't create a Tuesday
That's
deposit?
that's correct. That's correct. And that's a limitation in general. The way that we get around that in the normal system is I'll show you, but it's really difficult to figure out how to do it on the limited user level. Let me close this screen, go back to the Windows client. So if I'm in deposits here, and I click on new, the system pops up right here a screen saying, okay, which one do you want to do? So if I go there and I just do that, I just created one for AVF. Okay, you see that. If I go new, do another one. I can do another one. I can do George's. Heck with George. So now if I do new, okay, and I pick whatever, you see what it says? Only one deposit header is allowed for each journal batch. So I only am allowed to create one deposit header at a time for one batch. The problem is that we are basically forcing them into a batch that is them. And so there's general functionality that in general says the only way you can do multiple day deposits and not process them is simply the fact that you have to use a different batch, which a lot of districts do. They might have like, oh, batch 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever, and they can just have up to 5 batches. They know that by the time they get to the 5th one, they've rotated back, and they just know that. We've seen that at Lawrence and other districts. That's normal if it's a back office function. If it's a front office limited user function, we really need to have a process where they post this before the people start the next one. And so I'm not sure how to work that ballet out. I'm looking for feedback. I'm not really sure how to sort of address that because that's a fundamental tenet of the system. It's not really us. It's really the general design of the system. So, I don't really want to open up multiple batches, but I guess another way to possibly do it, I'll just throw this out to the crowd and you guys can comment, is back on the user card. And I'm open to this. It's just saying deposit batch 1, deposit batch 2, and they have up to 2 batches, and then they're stuck at that point, And so that would work for me. And so then what we would do is we would pop up a little dialogue and let them pick whichever batch they want to work in, and then that way they would be able to see the posting date and kind of know where it is and so forth. So I'm just putting that out there as a possibility. Right now, what happens when they're on the limited user and they click this button, we open up the batch because we just figure it out. So if in the example right then, or I had just posted it, it automatically created a new header for me because it figured it needed to. So now this is a new number. You don't probably need to look at what the old number was, but it created a new number on the fly. So I'm kind of controlling that, if you will, kind of in an automated way. So anyway.
Okay, so I like your idea of allowing them to have more batches because obviously with some schools, the food service person will put them in, but until they get, I know a lot of time it turns over within a day, maybe it's 2 days, but sometimes they'll have 3 deposits out there that the bank hasn't given them back the deposit slips so that they, because I know they don't want to post them in the front office if there's a difference.
Right.
Because they don't want to start adjusting that later.
It's like a point of sale system. I understand it. There's a reconciliation issue they're having. Somehow that money seemed to have walked away. I've been in the point of sale world, so I understand completely the need. I'm happy with opening up maybe 3 and building some kind of thing up in the front. However you guys think, I'm happy to do it. I just need to get a work order. I'm just talking also to Melissa and Linda, about this. So if you guys think there's a certain number, but I think we'd have to control it that way. That means that from a setup perspective, you'd have to set up a Mary 1, a Mary 2, a Mary 3, assign it as the 3 buckets in their user setup card, and then we'll deal with the interface side of it, right? Okay. So I think that's a reasonable request. I don't know, Melissa, if you're taking notes on this, but that's something I think we should possibly take. I've already heard this exact same issue. That's why, even though I know the receiving side, Linda, I feel like I've also heard on the deposit side. I think it came from James, quite honestly. When he presented to Red Deer, I think that's what their comment was.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right, 1283, add order address code, vendor name to the default posting description. I believe we didn't do that, but we did something else. Does anybody on this call remember what I actually did?
Is James not on the call? James knows what you did. I don't know what you ended up doing. You did end up doing something different, I think.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think. Is there? And it was related to the posting description, but no. I think it relates to the check printing, right? It really was an issue of on the check. And I don't believe that it's actually setup driven. I think it's just, well, it must be setup driven. Let me just go
I think
back.
it's on the check stub. Yeah, it was something on
But
the
is
check
it, but,
stub. I don't know. I haven't looked at it.
do you have, can you bring up quickly what objects I changed, Bill, on 12.8.3?
Um,
You're on it, right?
yeah, I don't know that I have.
You don't have the completion email on 12.83?
Oh,
Well,
yeah,
heck,
I do. I do. Hang on.
yeah, I was gonna say I got it if you don't. Yeah, I don't see anything here. So let's see on the check printing side.
You changed all the AP check stubs. All of 6 reports, AP check stub, AP check stub, check stub subcheck, check stub, stub check envelope, AP check reprint, check stub.
Yeah, I think what I did is I think I just said if the order address code's there, I append it into the description in an automated way, is what I felt like I did. So I think we're just automatically, because they're using the order address code as sort of almost like an account number. And this is the interesting part about it is that, so I've got a vendor and they're processing. So we have on the vendor card, like, your account number. Well, but that's not really what's going on here. They really are getting multiple bills, let's say with a utility, in which they have multiple accounts with the same vendor. It's not the same thing as remit to either, because it's not like the remit to is the issue. They just have to tell the vendor that on this invoice it relates to account whatever. So instead of, they have an invoice number as well, and I don't know why they don't want to just type it in the description, which I think is what most people typically have done over the years. But I think what they want to do is type something else in the description so it's more meaningful internally. So we decided to use the order address code table as a drop down, and they can put the account number as sort of the order address code. And so then if we do see that in the transaction, we put that on the check stub kind of in an automated way. So I think that's what we did to satisfy 1283. And you can tell by the fact that I only changed the check reports that that's what we did. So anyway, all right, the employee benefit export tool, add employee benefit and employee benefit data, dependent data. I know, Chris, you've worked with that tool. I have not worked with that tool a lot, but I'm assuming that data is now available for that tool. And again, is that tool in payroll? Is that where it is?
It is.
It's under tasks.
Yep.
And where would I find it? Right here. It doesn't stand out as more because I don't know the way these are indented this way. It kind of makes it hard.
Well,
to
I think
see.
those other ones may go away.
Yeah,
in the next release.
Right.
That's the idea.
Yeah. So we have a bunch out here right now. And is there any ones that would be examples of the ones that use the benefit tables? I don't know. Maybe this one. I don't know.
Maybe that might, or the 401k might.
Edit list. Go to format. Is that what I want?
And then lines. And then you probably have to go, on one of those lines. Look at fields. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure that gives me what I want.
That may not be a good sample to look at.
But do I have a look up here? Data source. Yeah. So we're starting to expand the data. So I think what he really added was 1,000 and 1,100, right? I mean, I think maybe even 2,000. I don't even know. But anyway, so we're expanding the functionality now to start picking up data from our benefit enrollment system, as well as our benefit administration system, if you will, versus just the payroll deductions and so forth. So our plan, as we all know, is to eventually build this so that we can competently do all of the exports from a benefit provider perspective that we have, for instance, here, as well as others that we've done, mainly on state reporting sections. Begin to remove them all, and then we will then replace it with the data that we actually use to basically replicate it. And that kind of proves it, because as we continue to sort of do all of them, we kind of have to keep enhancing it, which is a good thing, and eventually it gets more and more capable. So that's kind of our plan. It is a live product right now, but it continues to evolve. And every release, I think for the next 5 releases, you're going to see stuff added to this tool. Page break problem on the GL analysis report. I think we had a little problem there, so we kind of fixed that, and so that's been fixed. That's a Mohammed. Thank you for fixing that. 1297.
Andrew,
Yes, ma'am.
With that page break issue, like, I saw that issue with the report on the ERC. Is there any way to fix that on the ERC, or is those just kind of the way they are?
No, it'll fix there too. That report on the ERC is the same report.
Oh, it's the same one.
Yeah,
Okay.
we leverage the same report, so it should work the same way.
Oh, thank you. Sorry.
Yeah. Otherwise it'd be a nightmare to have to do that report twice. Ugh.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, no, it's
Thank
the same
you.
report. That's the nice thing about the ERC. The web client can run these native reports we run on the Windows client just pretty much all the time. The only time we don't do that is if we just want to make it more simple looking, something like that. But in this case, we don't. We want it to be identical to what you see in the back office. Set requisition and PO posting date based on number series. This is the one that Dan wanted, I remember. Mohammed, you worked on this. This is a little bit subtle, this one, right? So what we found out is that people are wanting to change the numbering series, let's say on requisitions, effective 7/1. And so we're putting a requisition in May, and we're dating it 7/1. And we want to actually use the number series that is appropriate for that time period, because it's actually going to be a next year requisition, and we want to actually now begin to use the other requisition numbering series that starts on 7/1, but the system couldn't do that. So then what we did is we said, well, the work date will drive that, but I don't remember how the work date, since it can't be set in the web client, you accommodated that. Mohammed, do you remember?
Yeah.
How? Do you remember?
I think we used the posting date.
But the posting date, you've already inserted the header before you type in the posting date. So that's the thing. It's like the old catch-22 thing, where you're having to commit to creating the series, the document number before they've actually had a chance to get over to the posting date and change it. So I just don't remember how you did it, but you did somehow pull it off. I just don't remember.
Yeah, we talked. I mean, we both discussed it, but I mean, I could look at the code how it did it. I don't remember.
Why don't you come back on this call, baby, real time? Just mute for a second and try to figure out how, without setting the work date. I mean, the work date's kind of an obvious thing, but the web client you can't set the work date. So is there something else that you did maybe on the web client? 13. I'm just trying to see how many more we got.
A ton. Yeah.
A ton?
Yeah.
A ton? Gosh darn.
You're not even halfway, I don't think.
Oh, you're killing me, Linda.
Oh boy.
Oh boy. Well, I never finished this in one session. They know that. They're used to it. Holy cow. Well, it's good stuff we're learning, though. I mean, I'm learning a lot myself going through this, so I like doing this. So come back 1297 quickly, because I'm not going to go too much longer, because we're going to break. General ledger and payroll reclass distributions, add ASN option. So now we've got the ASN option to be able to create the new account string that we meant to do on both reclass tools. That's Mohammed did that work. Thank you, Mohammed. Value substitution setup. Create a function to allow for the export and import of value substitution steps. So I guess where is that setup kept, Linda? Do you know? I can't remember.
No, I don't even know what that's used for. The value substitution setup.
I think it's coming from when a sub comes in on the imports. The logic we use similar to the employer substitutions.
No. Hold on. This I think this is back to the being able to do the exports. This is all part of the benefit export tool.
The value substitution setup?
Yes, because initially you could only export and import the basic setup of the benefits export tool, and Kevin came back and enhanced it to be able to import and export the these value substitutions.
Right.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I believe you. So if I export, do I have choices here? No, I don't know. I don't know what that means, the value substitution. I don't know what you mean by that, but
I'll show you. Yeah. Okay, so go back to home and go to your format. and go to lines and just do fields. So down here under formatting, I think there's a place in here where you tell it to use a value substitution. And there's some predefined value substitutions, like, replace a comma with a space, or replace a
Is it this
comma with a semicolon.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Originally in the setup of the whole process that Kevin designed, you could not basically export this out to be able to be imported somewhere else. You had to manually go in and rekey it if you needed to do it. So.
Right. All right.
You can. There's probably a table you can look at for value substitution, Andrew, and basically those values, if you don't have them, you get an error when you try to use one of the ones that have already been set up. So we had to export those two.
Yeah, This thing's a monster. I mean, it's not a monster tool, but it does so many things. It's so heavy duty that
it is.
It's pretty interesting, but it definitely requires a PhD, and I don't even have a bachelor's. All right, we're at high noon. We're on 1313, correct issues with limited users entering records. That's a very interesting discussion as well. There's so many interesting conversations here. Oh my God, there's so much fun. So my question for Mohammed is, Mohammed, did you ever figure out the answer to 1297?
Yes, it comes from a starting date or numbering series line that gets into the posting date of requisition and PO.
But again, I don't understand. I mean, I know what you mean by the number series. So if I go to the number series, did you add anything to the number series at all?
No. Each numbering series has a line and on the line you could specify a date.
Right, so you're talking about lines, and you're talking about this starting date here, right?
Yes.
Right.
That becomes the posting date as soon as you select the series on PO or requisition.
Oh, that's
so you're
right.
picking
that's
it.
Right. So you're picking it. So what you mean is that when we're in here and we're in requisitions and we hit new, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's this button here.
Right.
That allows it to. So when you pick the right one. So I guess my question is, if you had the same one with multiple lines, you would have multiple lines here? You do, don't you? I guess you must, right?
Yeah.
So in other words, if I have this rec, and rec has a line that says, okay, starting, let's see, I don't see the start date on there, though. So I just don't know.
That's on the lines.
Let me just do this. Let me just go ahead and just do it real quick, because I think it'll just be better. So number series line, PREC. All right, where's PREC? There she is. All right, lines. So starting here, and starting, what month is coming up? 0901. I want it to be, RAC, but I want it to be RAC A. Okay, something like that. I'm just making that up. Okay. So back here, I don't know if it's going to be on here already. And again, I don't trust this because it's sometimes it takes a while for it to catch up with data that I've done. And let me see, did I make sure I saved that? Yeah, I did. And there's the data. Because it doesn't know what day I'm on. Well, it knows today is August 13th, as it does know, but... Yeah, see, I don't get this. Is it just not caught up with me, or is it because this is...
Maybe your start date's too in the future. Maybe change it to 8/1.
I can't change. You're talking about via my workday?
No.
No. Back on the starting date on the number series line.
Okay.
Put in two, maybe, that both start on 8/1 and see if you get a choice.
So where are you talking about?
In the set, and go back into the... get out of the web client. Go back to the Windows client. Go back to the number series.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about. Okay.
What you talking about, Willis?
You want me to put a date here?
Change your 9/1 to 8/1. Just thinking maybe it's looking at your
but again,
system date.
Remember my scenario. My scenario.
Yeah, but don't I get to pick though, don't I, as the user? If you have multiple requisition numbers, don't I get to pick which one to use? Or no? Is that not the process?
Maybe that's what
I don't think it's going to show that.
Okay, so maybe that's what Mohammed was thinking. So Mohammed, you were thinking they were setting up an entire new series, didn't you?
Yes.
Oh,
it has to be the first line.
Yeah.
See, in our issue.
Oh, it has to be the first line.
It has to really be the same series, really. Yeah. See, that's technically I know that's what you've done, but that's not I think what they really want. They really want it to be the same number series, which is coming from purchase payable setup.
With multiple lines.
But they want multiple lines. Yeah, it's almost like what we need to do, believe it or not, is on.
And the issue is those multiple lines are picked based on a work date, which we want to work around.
Well, it's almost like we want to show not just this, but sort of the lines that are relevant.
Mm-hmm.
You know, not lines that are old, but lines that are like in vogue as of right now, and then the next one. You know, show them that, not the next one, but just, you know, I mean, again, if you saw line 8-1 or 9-1, it'd be nice if they saw like this repeated with a start date. Yeah.
Yeah. That's we have to break the existing functionality.
I know we did. So anyway, it looks like right now Mohammed's is working, but technically you would have to be using another number series, and I'm not sure that that's a great thing that we want limited users picking a whole other series. It's more just, it's like, well, what's the date? And that's really the problem with this is that you pick your date after you've picked the numbering series. So I still think, Bill, we should go look back at 1297, and maybe rethink it under another work order. At least put a work order in to see if we can rework that functionality. But that's just my recommendation, because I don't think it really delivered what we were intending to deliver. Linda, I don't know how you feel about that, or you're still listening to me. But
no, I am, and I think though they may set up a new numbering series, because what they're trying to do is number stuff like 150001, and last year was 140001.
Right, because I mean the design of the native system is just simply like this. I would go and change my work date to 0901, right? I would come into departments. I'm talking about now, not web client, right? Requisitions, and I would go new, and voila, there's the A, right? I mean, that's the design of the system. The problem is that works great because I can just change my work date and know I'm working in next year. The problem is the web client
doesn't know that.
Doesn't
do that.
Doesn't have that ability, although you can in the web client change the system work date. So I guess it's another.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm not sure we want them to do that.
No, I mean in code we can do it. There's no UI to do it. We can do it ourselves. In other words, if for some reason we magically, let's just say we hit the new button and we popped up a question. I'm just making that up. Let's just pretend we popped up a question and says, you know, do you want this year or next year? You know what I mean? We could control it by just sort of changing the work date. It only works in the context of this one screen. And once they close the screen, it gets lost anyway. You see what I'm getting at? So I'm just saying, Muhammad and I, if we just have the work order out there, maybe he and I can practice some things and figure out another way to maybe accomplish and skin the same cat.
It may not necessarily be even one screen. It's, I think, just limited to one object. If you make a call to another object, work date would be what it was.
Yeah, sort of like the way Change Company used to work, or still does, actually. Okay, well, we'll talk about that. Just, Bill, if you can just note that we got some rethinking to do on 1297. Okay, Heidi, you're on the phone?
Heidi had an appointment at noon, so she just left.
Okay. Well, my question is, calendar-wise, I'm looking at my calendar, because I'd like to just go to part 2 of this, if that's okay to people.
Let me look at our calendars here.
Well, I'm pressing my calendar button. It's not doing anything right now. I don't know why. All right. Come on, screen. It's like Outlook's not responding. No, there she goes. All right.
Okay, I know the week of the 17th, Heidi is gone all week. She's actually going to be with Dan and Chris at
a client.
Yeah.
But not till the 19th, I think. The 17th and 18th, I don't think they are. Anyway.
She's actually going to be working. She's going to be helping Vermilion with payroll, because their payroll person's mother just passed away last night. So she will definitely be up there Monday and Tuesday. The week of the 24th, I think we're all here Wednesday, except for Angela. She will be out. But it looks like we may all be here on Wednesday the 26th.
Okay, I'm just stopping the recording because it's causing this to be really